Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Pathfinder Enhanced Guide we have a very special and quite fun build. A Crusader of Iomedae, the main good aligned deity of the game. And we'll actually be double the Crusader character with 20 whole levels into both Crusader Cleric and also Paladin for the ultimate holy character. Especially as first we'll be going the Angel Mythic path while later becoming a legend. And you'll get to keep the best benefits from both, with many attacks per round, great damage per hit too. Even better access to the ultimate angel buffs, including the orbital strikes for high spell damage as well, together with amazing saving throws, while combining both a very powerful pet, together with Paladin's weapon bond, and of course Might Evil and Mark of Justice. So without further ado, let us get into our Cleric Paladin Angel Legend of Iomedae build. Now for class you have two choices, three even. My preferred pick is Cleric and Crusader. It's a very thematic archetype for a follower of Iomedae, especially for a game called, well, Wrath of the Righteous, where you are the commander of a crusade. By virtue of being a Cleric, as a Crusader you also have maximum spellcasting, which is made even stronger when you merge with the Angel Mythic path at first before becoming a legend. Plus Crusader has its own unique benefits of granting you lots of extra feats to further support your melee power, including even access to fighter specific feats like greater weapon focus and weapon specialization. So overall it's the best of both worlds. You'll have both nice spells, especially for buffing, and melee power. You'll only get to pick one domain out of two, but that's more than enough. I would rather leave domain support to another cleric. Of course, you can also go with Oracle. The normal Oracle is definitely the best choice here. It's just not as thematic to me, right? But certainly a very strong option. You will end up with more spell slots than Crusader, and also get some free feats, and even the pet for free to the Nature Oracle Mystery. I suppose Oracle's main advantage for this build is that, as a charisma character, later, because you'll be picking Paladin levels as a legend, and Paladin does have some abilities, especially Smite Evil, that directly work based on your charisma, well, it has better synergy. It's just that for this build you'll only become a Paladin once you become a legend, right? Which is quite late in the game, at chapter 5 only. By that point, I don't think charisma is that necessary, you have other ways of increasing it. Which is why I'll be going with Cleric and Crusader. Of course you could potentially start as a Paladin, but I'm afraid it's not going to be anywhere near as strong as Cleric or Oracle because of the Angel merge, and Paladins, well, they can become angels, but they cannot merge with the angel spells, which is what makes it so powerful. For race, I'll be going with human. Well, I am biased towards humans, of course, it's just that Iomedae is a human goddess, right? She is a goddess of humanity, the successor of Aradan. But the main power of human, the bonus feat, is not that necessary for this build. First because you'll have many as a Crusader, you'll also get another from your domain, and of course once you become a legend you'll have more than enough feats to spare. When it comes to early game power, however, human will help a lot, and I do prefer builds that are great even early on. Now for background, I'm afraid it's the classic 330 and Pickpocket. The other ones don't really do anything special for this build. For ability points, if you went with Oracle, you of course want to focus on Charisma. But for a Crusader Cleric, I'd rather go for Strength. You can start with 20, it's just that you won't have as many points to spend in other stats, and we do need a lot of them with this build. So 18 Strength is enough. The rest you'll get from other sources. 12 Dexterity, 12 Constitution too. We can ride our pet later and early just use ranged weapons to stay out of danger, plus all the amazing angel defensive buffs. Intelligence can be safely dumped because it doesn't really matter for this build. As far as wisdom, I would rather start with 16. You can go with 14 too. It's just that this build will get level 9 spells very fast at chapter 3 because of the angel merge. Way faster than even oracles for normal spells like Mass Heal and Frightful Aspect. By having 16 it means you only need a headband of +3 to cast all of the spells. Or you can just leave it at 15 and go with a +4 headband, which you should have access to at chapter 3 when you need it. Lastly, I would go with 14 Charisma, just for the extra synergy with Paladin later on. Plus of course it helps with more uses of channel positive energy for early game healing. Now for skill points, Lord Religion, I think it fits a Cleric. And I would also go for Persuasion, even if you won't have super high Charisma. For your level 1 feats, as always, Power Attack. Nothing really is as helpful early on for the extra attack it provides you. For deity, of course, we want Iomedae for once. Channel Positive Energy. As far as Domain, we can't pick Animal, unfortunately. We'll have to do it through Impossible Domain during Mythic progression. But the best one to me out of Iomedae's pick is War, because it provides you with a bonus feat at level 8. Now, for your Crusader bonus feat, you have two choices. This build will be focused into long swords, so you can go with weapon focus and long sword right now. After all, long swords are Iomedae's sacred and favorite weapon, which means you already start with free proficiency with it as a cleric. On the other hand, because this character won't be built for tanking until you get the pet anyways at level 6 to 7, I would much rather focus into rich weapons early. By virtue of having simple weapon proficiency, you can just equip long spears, or if you want a more versatile character, pick martial weapons proficiency for free here, as it will provide you with access to pretty much all of the other great weapons, including scimitars, rapiers, falchions, the best critical range weapons, which are the best weapons in the game too, even great access for Gravesinger later if you want. Also, even if you want to go with long swords, don't worry, because you'll be picking weapon focus into it, or another weapon of choice at level 5 anyways. This is just for the extra versatility and safety provided by rich weapons early on. For alignment, Lawful Good of course, which is Iomedae's own alignment. For level 3, Cleaving Finish as usual, the extra attack is even better for up to 3 attacks per round. And by the way, you would only get a second normal attack at level 8. We get 3 way earlier, for a nice time early game. At level 4, I would rather increase Strength for more melee power. Of course, if you went with Oracle, you can go with Charisma instead. For level 5, go with Combat Reflexes, otherwise we'll have to delay it for a very long time. As for the Crusader feat, weapon focus into your weapon of choice, such as Long Sword. For level 7, be sure to level your character to Mythic 1 first and pick Impossible Domain Animal, as to qualify for the Boon Companion feat, the one you want to pick now, so that your pet will fully scale to your level. It doesn't matter much for a legend, because of the level 20 cap, for pets anyways, but legend comes very late. For most of the game, Boon Companion will be quite helpful for your build. For the level 8 War Domain bonus feat, Outflank without a doubt. We get it one level later because we need Boon Companion first. For level 9, Lunge is the way to go as usual. Reach is amazing to have on any character that's not directly tanking. For the level 10 Crusader bonus feat, because we can only pick the fighter special ones like Weapon Specialization during the Crusader bonus talents, and we don't have that many, I would rather pick Weapon Specialization into Long Sword now, or your weapon of choice. You can also go with Greater Weapon Focus, I would rather Specialization, so we can qualify for the Mythic version of it early. For level 11, Improved Critical into your weapon of choice. Of course, if you were an Oracle, you could get this for free as early as level 8, through the Battle Mystery. For level 13, well, it's time for Dazzling Display, so we can qualify for Shattered Defenses at 15. Now, it is true that, as a Crusader Cleric, you can get access to the Frightful Aspects spell to easily proc Shattered Defenses way earlier than the norm, at around level 11 even, when you combine it with Angel Mythic 4. It's just that we don't have the feats to spare to pick it earlier, but it's something you can do if you want. For level 15, Shatter Defenses at last. And for the bonus feat, Greater Weapon Focus into your weapon of choice, Long Swords. For level 17, it's time for Improved Initiative. Your level 19 feat can be anything you want. I mean, at this point, you'll be getting loads of extra levels as a legend, around 15 extra ones. So you'll have an abundance of feats. Anyways, you might as well get started with Blind Fight. As for the last Crusader feat, Greater Weapon Specialization, of course. Now, when it comes to your legend progression, this is when you'll finally get into Paladin. And you have two different choices, I'd say. The normal Paladin, which is certainly solid and my preferred pick, as you'll get all of the amazing bonuses, especially Smite Evil and Mark of Justice. Still very powerful, even if you won't have very high charisma, unless you go with an Oracle, as I explained earlier. And for Divine Weapon Bond too, because we already have a pet from Cleric, we can fully focus into more damage through this. And the best part is, as a legend, we'll get most of these abilities here added at once, right at the same time. Now you can also go with Divine Scion, which is the Slayer Paladin type of character, for full study target progression, which means an extra +5 to attack and damage, and also 4 dice of sneak attack for higher damage too. It's just that you lose both Smite Evil and Mark of Justice, which are two of the most powerful Paladin abilities, and also the Divine Weapon Bond, so that's less damage too. And the other archetypes aren't really as interesting. I'll just be going with the normal Paladin. Now for your feat progression as a legend, as I said, at this point you actually already have the best feats in the game, by far. So what you can do is get some, let's say, win more feats. For example, let's get started with Great Cleave. Then at 23, improved Cleaving Finish, which was actually fixed to work amazingly now. The Mercy progression will be the same as usual, first with Fatigued. At 25 you might as well pick Toughness, which has higher synergy with Legend because of double the levels available. And of course Divine Weapon Bond, as we already have the pet. This can provide your weapon attacks, all of them, with most importantly Flaming Burst and Axiomatic. Holy, your weapon will already have it. Brilliant Energy can help a lot too when it comes to bypassing most of the enemy's armor class bonuses. For another Mercy, Staggered. At 27, go with Hammer the Gap. It's not that needed, but like I said, we have feats to spare. For 29, Warrior Priest. I don't usually pick this, but the extra +1 to initiative can help, since we can't afford Mythic initiative as a legend anyways. And Confused as a Mercy. From 31 onwards, you can really go with anything you want, including even something like Spell Focus into Conjuration and Greater Focus, because the best angel spells that will get you retained as a legend are Conjuration, like the Orbital Strikes, Bolt and Storm of Justice. Although DC doesn't really matter much for them, they still do full damage regardless. Bolster Spell is another amazing feat to increase the damage of these spells too. For another Mercy, Cursed. Well, as we have the feats to spare, I'll grab Critical Focus now. This way at 35 we can pick one of the special critical feats. Blinding is my preferred pick here, because the DC is based on your base attack bonus, and well, we have double the norm as a legend, so why not? But you can't go wrong with Staggering Critical too, and pick Stunned as a Mercy. Anything you want now from 37 onwards. I'll just grab some Persuasion boosting feats, such as Skill Focus, Intuit of course. For another Mercy, Diseased. For the last feat I'll just go with Persuasive. Alright, now let us cover Mythic progression for our Crusader Paladin, Legend Angel of Iomedae. For the first Ascension, well, Close to the Abyss is definitely the best pick here, because of the extra gore attack per round. It's just not very thematic for an Angel Paladin Legend, right? So I'll just be going with Close to the Heavens instead. The healing power this can provide you will be quite good for most of the game, until you become a legend. For Mythic level 1, if you went with Crusader, Impossible Domain and Animal is the way to go. Of course you don't need it if you don't want a pet. It's just going to add a lot of extra power to your build. And I do enjoy the notion of a Crusader riding an animal through battle. For the pet selection, you can go with anything you want, although as always, the tripping pets, boar, dog and wolf are by far the best. For this build, however, I have chosen to go with the Smilodon. Every god in Pathfinder and Dungeons & Dragons has a sacred animal. For Iomedae, it's the lion. We don't get to pick a lion as a pet, however, so the Smilodon is the closest, I believe, or the leopard even. For Mythic level 2, as always, nothing has as high synergy with Legend as Mythic Power Attack or Piranha Strike, because Legend can achieve double base attack bonus than all other Mythic paths and classes, for even more extra damage. Of course, very early in the game, Mythic Power Attack isn't as necessary, so if you are fine with respecting your character before fully becoming a legend, as you only get to retain one Mythic feat, exactly the one you pick at level 2, where you can instead go for extra Mythic and Abundant Casting, which early on is way more useful for this type of build. Now when it comes to your progression as an angel, right, because you have to be one before becoming a legend, as I said, first Animal Domain, if you didn't go with Oracle. Second, either Mythic Power Attack or Abundant Casting, which is a lot better early game. As far as Mythic level 3, improved Abundant Casting. Right, because you'll be merging with Angel at this point and you'll already have super high spellcasting. For Mythic 4, well, you can choose between Mythic Critical or the last Abundant Casting, which I prefer. Then for Mythic 5, you can go with Ever Ready. For Mythic 6, either Mythic Critical or Mythic Weapon Specialization. The other Mythic levels don't matter much because by that point you just become a legend. Or you can just follow this order here if you want to keep Mythic Power Attack at Mythic 2 for a better split between martial and spellcasting boosting abilities. Alright, now let's cover gear for our Angel, Cleric, Legend, Paladin of Iomedae. For the amulet, as always, Valexias, because you want, well, either the higher strength, if you're going with Crusader Cleric, or Charisma with Oracle. No matter your highest stat, Valexia's amulet will enhance it. For armor, as we don't really care about AC because we have either Reach or our pet, just go with the Chainmail of Camaraderie as usual for higher damage when flanking. Shirts and robes don't really matter, you might as well go with Wandering Calm Man. Although, while you're still an angel, you can use the 7 Sins robe as well for higher caster level. For belts, at first belts of strength, later strength and dexterity or constitution, but ultimately, Arrogance belt is the best. I mean, not only it's super thematic for this build because Iomedae is meant to be Arrogance's successor, but of course the belt is the most OP one in the whole game, with massive bonuses to both attack damage and even the ability to reflect offensive spells cast on you, including traps, amusingly enough. Gloves don't really matter for this character, just like with boots. Late game you might as well go with Death Dealer because you get sneak attack for free anyways. But there's also the Dashing Cavalier's gloves for when you get a pet at around level 6 to 7. As for boots, anything you want. Stampede can help if you went with ranks into athletics. For helmets, at first you want to focus on the ones that increase wisdom, so you can cast all of the Angel Cleric spells in the game. After all, Charisma only really starts mattering for you once you become a legend with Paladin levels, unless you went with Oracle of course, in which case headbands that increase your Charisma from the start. And the best part is once you become a legend you can just find Mental Perfection headbands anyways that increase both Charisma and Wisdom by huge amounts, +6 or even +8. The glasses don't matter much, I just went with the Goggles of Piercing Gaze here. The extra bonus against demons is great, but most importantly the huge Persuasion boost. For cloaks, just resistance with the highest modifier, but as an angel, you can also use the Angel Mythic Cloak, it's just that it will stop mattering once you become a legend. For rings, as always, Triumphant Advance for the huge morale bonuses to attack and damage. Even to ability scores you can for example cast the Rage spell for +4 to Strength and Constitution, at the cost of your spellcasting for a time. As for the second ring, I went with Guiding Star because we don't really have very high initiative as a legend, since we can't afford Mythic initiative as a feat. But you can also go for the Ring of Evasion because you have absurd saving throws including Reflex, even when mostly unbuffed. And there's always the Righteous Crusader ring if you want more castings of Smite Evil. Bracers also don't matter much, I just went with Abrupt Onslaught, which by the way can be found exactly at the same place you get the free Sneak Attack book. Now let's cover weapons and Quickslots. For weapons I decided to go with longswords because they are Iomedae's favorite weapon. And of course Radiance, the ultimate holy sword in the game, is a longsword. By virtue of being a Paladin Cleric, you can enhance it even further with Axiomatic, Flaming, Blessed, Holy, and even more holy damage from angel spells. But of course, by virtue of being a longsword, it doesn't have the ultimate critical range. Scimitars, falchions, rapiers on the other hand do, and this character is versatile enough to be able to equip these other weapon types if you prefer. It's just not as thematic. There's a lot of useful quickslot items actually. Lucky Dice can provide minor bonuses. The Signet here just to increase any skill, usually Persuasion. Legend can get the unique Trusted Friend, usable item which does increase your Charisma by +2 Circumstance, very useful for this build. Meta Magic Rods like Grandmaster if you want the Orbital Strike Angel spells, and of course Extend Rods for the Angel and Cleric buffs. Don't forget, once you become a Paladin you can also go with Arrogance Wrath for even higher damage and a very nice conversion to Smite Evil. Also, even if you didn't care for the Animal Domain, You can still get a pet from the Triceratops statuette a bit later, which will fully scale to your level as a legend, well, to the maximum of level 20, instead of 16. Old Grimoire can also help, because Paladins have useful low-level spells, the same with Cleric ones. And of course, even with but a single point into use magic device, you can still use any scroll in the game, because of how easy it is to boost it. Well, alright friends, so this was it for my Crusader Angel Paladin Legend of Iomedae build. If you found it useful as always, please remember to like and subscribe, and also consider becoming a channel member. I'd really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends.